Zap.stream.
Let's go.
Should be, there we go. Broadcast on Nostr. There we go. Just shared. Let's see if wait for some people to show up real quick. So how has it been? How was your New Year and your Christmas? Yeah.
Good, man. I'm in Austin right now, so we've been to a comedy show. I don't know if you could know Kill Tony.
Joe Rogan. I've heard Joe Rogan mention him a lot. Yeah.
Exactly. So we've been to a live recording of Kill Tony, and yeah, it was dope. It was super funny.
That sounds awesome. I wish I could go to one of those comedic shows one day.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, okay, there we go. So, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Dr. Fernando Morales podcast, and more specifically, part of the PlebChat series, where I speak with random Nostrages that I find on Nostr, and we get to know a bit about them because we might know them for certain things, like for example, Max deMarco, who's a filmmaker. But who is Max? So, anyways. Max, without further ado, can you tell us a bit about yourself? Like, who was Max deMarco before Bitcoin and Nostr?
Thanks for having me on. Good question. So Max deMarco was actually a aspiring musician. So I tried to become a musician. I wasn't always into video making. I was into video making when I was a kid, around 12 to 14 years old. But then when I was 15, 16, I had the aspirations to actually become a musician, and was kind of teaching myself how to create music. I've been playing guitar and a couple of instruments since I was like 7 years old, and wanted to make it into a career. And this then led me into studying it, actually going to a music university, and then as well just working in the industry as an A&R for one of the major labels. So it was basically trying to discover new talents, then help them to develop and make them big and actually be successful. And from there, then I discovered Bitcoin by working on a project which wanted to incorporate the blockchain to the music industry, because it was like
Okay.
the big new thing. Like, oh my God, blockchain's gonna revolutionize the music industry. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna look into this. And this then led me down to understanding what money is, what Bitcoin is, and then ultimately I started to put my skills into the Bitcoin industry and editing podcasts. From there, I was editing, like, I don't know, probably 8 to 15 Bitcoin podcasts, and I still now have a production agency where I'm producing predominantly Bitcoin podcasts. We're making reels, we're making their full podcasts, and this then led to me doing my own content, podcast, of course, as well now. Do my own documentaries, rediscovered filmmaking, and this is kind of the short story of the young Max.
Interesting. I had no idea about that at all. So, have you been trying to implement some of your musician skills into what you're currently doing or
Yeah, I
aspiring
mean
to do?
it's very similar to a certain degree. I think it's just like this, creating something and putting it out into the universe, and it's just a different medium. So now it's more the video medium, but what I learned from making it as just auditive basically helps me also a lot on what I'm doing, because I'm primed, or my videos are primed to be different than traditional video makers, because I'm more approaching it from the music side. So I think the music underlying all the videos is extremely important. It actually portrays the emotion so much more, and so it's kind of like the learning side from the music industry definitely helped me to have a, I wouldn't say necessarily competitive edge, but at least a different angle and different edge on my videos.
Yeah, your documentaries are really top notch. I remember watching their first documentary that I watched was the one about Japan and inflation. Like really, really well done. Like I loved it so much. And wait, around what year did you discover Bitcoin then, more or less? If you're okay with disclosing that.
Yeah, it was probably. I mean, I was shitcoining in the beginning, and I was like, so the music industry thing was actually, we wanted to create a shitcoin, and yeah, they wanted. It was a partnership with the European Union, and they wanted to find a way to create a shitcoin which creates the circular economy for musicians. And so it took me quite a while to understand it because I came from an application standpoint. But I think it must have been 2017, something like that.
So, like, what exactly made Bitcoin click for you? Like, when was the aha moment?
Bitcoin Twitter.
Oh, really?
As simple as that, yeah. Because I saw, and it's so funny because like back in the days, I don't know, do you know Raw Paul?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So he was on a Pump podcast when both of them still were Bitcoin maxis. And they were I somehow discovered it on YouTube, and then they were talking about that the highest signal of Bitcoin is on Bitcoin Twitter, and I wasn't on Twitter before. I had an account, but I never really used it. And then funnily enough, those shitcoiners kind of led me down the maxi route, and then ultimately safety and spoke the Bitcoin standard made it click for me and put it actually into some frameworks, which I was able to understand what this thing actually is.
And I'm guessing that Nostr just came naturally after that.
Yeah.
When
Nostr
did?
was
Yeah,
Nostr was like everybody was leaving Bitcoin Twitter, and it was like, oh shit, why are nobody's here anymore? And then people started deleting their accounts, and then I think I joined Nostr 2022 or was it 2021? Probably 2022, and yeah, was immediately like, oh, this is cool. And but back in the days, it was like, dude, Nostr was like, it was. I'm not a technical person. I'm not a coder, and I needed to figure out how to upload my profile picture. And it was such a pain in the ass because you needed to host it locally somewhere, and there were like it was so hard to use for me. But I eventually made it work, and now it's kind of cool to look back at it, how primitive Nostr was back then, and now we have Primal and all the other clients who make it so seamless for people to actually use it.
yeah, it's been going great. And actually, regarding you mentioned like you're a musician, you try to make a shit coins to like support the musician industry. Like now, there's clients like Wavlake, I think it's called, and now you can get paid with Bitcoin. So that's also freaking amazing.
Yeah, it's basically the things which we wanted to do back to 2017, and to try to put this shitcoin on top of it. It's kind of like what Nostr can enable now, even with Fountain. Like that was also my realization after reading the Bitcoin Standard and the Pump and Roll Paul interview, that you don't necessarily need your own token to make it work, because we now have Bitcoin and the blockchain. The only use case for a blockchain argumentally is money, because otherwise, well, why would you need to create another token on top of it as a validation mechanism or reward mechanism? And then now we have all of those different technologies which actually are now mature enough to be able to facilitate those things that a lot of people thought 2017, 2016, that, oh, we need a token for this. Well, no, maybe it just took a little bit of a time to figure out the frameworks, how we could use Bitcoin in a certain way, to use it now in a way that actually helps musicians. I mean, there are a couple of musicians who make like loads of money, and you see the live the live gigs where people are zapping and streaming, and it's just cool to see that all of this is happening in front of our eyes, and we are kind of in the midst of all of this being created, and we have no idea where it's going, but it's super exciting because everybody's just trying to do something which is useful for the world, and a lot of people fail, and some people figure something out which actually might be viable for the future.
Yeah, exactly. What's in store for us? I think is it's. I'm feeling very bullish. Like it's going to be an amazing future. I'm pretty sure of that. Value for value model, I think, is going to gain a lot of traction in the coming years. Oh, and we're going to start having questions in the chat. So I hope you don't mind if we start answering them. For example, here's one question from the Alan Young. What's been your favorite Bitcoin travel place so far? Do you plan to travel to any new Bitcoin or Nostr events soon?
So my favorite was hands down Ovita, because the Bitcoin jungle is just so, like, the adoption is surreal. You can do anything without even touching once the fiat rails. So you can get raw milk, you can get meat, anything, because the adoption there, shout out to Bitcoin Jungle, they're doing an awesome job. I had surf lessons paid with Bitcoin. So it's basically it's my favorite place, just because it's kind of seamless there. Whereas like different countries I've traveled to, Bitcoin is still in its infancy there. Nobody really cares, and because there the grassroots have been intermingled with the local communities, and they understand the use cases. This is like the furthest which comes to a Bitcoin Citadel I've come across so far. Of course, there are different locations which I also enjoyed, but like Bitcoin locations, definitely Uvita. And am I planning to travel? Yes, for sure. I don't have yet um, any conferences confirmed, because I think last year I've been like on 10 or 12 conferences, and it's like, yeah, and it keeps you from getting work done. And I feel like at least the first half of the year, there are a lot of ambitious projects which I have. So I the chances are very high that I'm gonna be on a lot of conferences, but I was yet more focusing on getting work done rather than traveling now. So yeah.
Do you think that's kind of like a natural phases to go through? Like you get into Bitcoin and then you start going to conferences like crazy, and then eventually you realize, I'd rather just save my Bitcoin than spend so much money on conferences. That's what I seem to the pattern that I seem to see.
Yes, because I think in the beginning you should go to as many conferences as possible to build your social circle. Because I met like the most amazing people on Bitcoin conferences, and it's different meeting them in person rather than like on Nostr or on Twitter. So I think in the beginning it's extremely important to do it, and it's also worth the investment, because even though it's extremely expensive to go there, the relationships are so valuable that at some point it's gonna pay back in a certain degree. So if you're searching a Bitcoin job, if you want to get deeper into Nostr, like those are the events where all of this happens, because your values by being into those topics are so aligned, and then you click instantly by meeting in person, and then you can already like there are so many business opportunities left or and right which are just being made during those conferences. So I think it's a worthwhile investment. But for me personally, it's been now, I think my first conference was 2021. So now it's like, now I built this social graph, and I have like my Bitcoin friends. And now I kind of need to, as you say, evolve into the next step to actually make sure that what I do, what my career is about, to provide as much value to the world out there. And I like, because if we go to a conference, it's like 2 weeks wasted. And
Yeah.
so I gotta be a little bit going back into work mode here.
That makes sense. Like I barely got into Bitcoin in 2022, so I still think I want to make these connections, these relationships, and I see that's a very valid point. I haven't actually thought about that. You may it's the currency of relationship is also a very important currency, I would say. Knowing people.
It's maybe even more important. I think it's one of the most important thing, because like, yeah, like even stacking Bitcoin, yes, of course it's important, but having good relationships with friends who you can trust is even more important, because this ultimately also has a reinforcing
Loop
impact on
or like
yeah,
yeah,
it's a
like
loop, right? You like, if you have people who you trust. For example, I have now this agency, the podcast agency. I'm running it now with a Bitcoiner, which I just met beginning of this year, and I was figuring out, dude, this guy has everything which I don't have, like Skillshare. So now since then we've been working together, and it works flawless. And it's just by investing the sats to actually going to the conference. Now, hopefully, I'll be able to make more sats in the future by utilizing the relations I've been nurturing while I'm there.
yeah, like Jack Muller says in his podcast, like can this earn me a higher return than Bitcoin, which is more or less around 50 or 60% year over year? And a lot of times, especially if you're beginning, yeah, like maybe it's worth it investing. If you can double your income, for example, within a year, that's most likely worth it in the long term. A few questions here, again from DL and Young. What kinds of applications do you think are needed to help with normies adoption?
I think it still comes down to a lot of education in a certain degree, and I'm in the camp who says that custodial solutions are actually good. That it's not something where we can pressure them into like, hey, you need to figure out everything yourself. I think it's a journey to get as sovereign as possible, but also just acknowledging that we need to meet the people where they're at. So everything which kind of eases this process of getting them on is, I think, a good tool. And I think there are a lot of people who are investing into education, even focusing on kids and so on. But I also would say that, like, I think we're on a pretty good trajectory already with what we have and what we've been building the last years, because there's nothing which comes to my mind yet where I'm saying like, oh, we're missing this huge thing and this is missing for a major adoption. It's like we're kind of getting there, that we are ready for mainstream to arrive. The UX is good, the explanations are good. We even changed names of like seed signer, hardware signer, and it's kind of like now anybody who's open to it would be able to be a successful Bitcoiner. I think it's just the only challenge is that not everybody is open for it yet, and I think that's fine. So yeah, I think we're pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree with that. Another question: do you have an opinion on which industries are needed for the Bitcoin circular economy? Well, actually, I think what you're doing is amazing. Like the film industry, you're making awesome videos talking about Bitcoin. So we need to. I think any industry, right, supporting Bitcoin, like even the fossil energy industry, like
Yeah.
Bitcoin touches everything.
I think we're in a super exciting times where whatever you do, Bitcoiners will need this in a certain degree, because also going back to the relationship things, like even like let's say art or fixing something in your house, there is a certain group of people who trust Bitcoiners more, or even just want to pay with Bitcoin. So I think there is this super exciting time in history where whatever you can do, whatever you do in the fiat world, you should try to adopt this skill into the Bitcoin world and position yourself as the Bitcoiner who does this, the Bitcoiner who does that. And it's like there's so much opportunity by this, where hopefully at some point you don't even need to interact with the fiat industry anymore, but you're able to carve this service out in the Bitcoin industry. And the ideally, when I'm super bullish on Bitcoin, so I think the people who will be demanding those services to pay with Bitcoin or have this trust to a Bitcoin or a person on Nostr will only increase. So I think like whatever industry we need it in Bitcoin, and whatever your skills are, we need to connect those skills with Bitcoin. And it's ultimately up to you how to do this, because I came from the music industry. I back then in that must have been 2017, I didn't see any connection to Bitcoin. Like, I'm a musician, what should I do with Bitcoin? And I needed to figure out what that way was, and I saw, oh, suddenly all of those people started doing Bitcoin podcasts. So I just tried to offer valuable services to those people, and it's been since then amazing. And of like, from a business perspective, it's went flawless. And it's like, you need to be open to do something which your skills can do, but it's maybe looking completely different than what you actually have been trying to do. But I think this is just a free market and Bitcoin market showing you where the value lays, what the people actually need. And I think this is an extremely healthy way of building a new business in this new world of Bitcoin.
I agree. Like, right now, I'm trying to become the carnivore Bitcoin Nostr doc in Spanish.
That's the
Kind of
way, you see. Yeah.
very niche.
Yeah.
So, like, going back to the filmmaking, you're doing filmmaking before Bitcoin, or like, was it because of Bitcoin that you started looking into the filmmaking part industry?
I mean, I was doing it when I was 12 or 14, but I wouldn't call it filmmaking. I was like, I had my phone and I recorded something. And then I actually started looking into filmmaking because my podcast clients wanted to do like video. And then I saw like, oh shit, this is actually a lot of fun. It's the softwares are very similar to the audio softwares, so it didn't took me a long time to learn what I was doing. And then from there, this whole new world opened up to, oh shit, I can actually construct stories or make like personal development stories and share them. And I was living with Gigi in Croatia back then. I think it was 2020. And I was still a nim there. I didn't show my face. I was called Pleb Music. That was my handle. And then he actually pushed me to start doing videos, and like also carve this weird niche out of being a Bitcoin filmmaker who focuses on self development and health. And I've been since then doubling down. And it's a lot of fun. And now also doubling down on Nostr because I think it's the best protocol and bullish technology overall. So yeah,
I totally agree. But so you began making films because of your clients, and then you start making your own content. How do you choose what to film? Like,
it's
'cause-
it's mostly it's mostly what I'm interested about in life. It's like okay, a very controversial documentary which I did was I stopped smiling for 6 months. And this was just something it initiated from a tweet which I saw. And I kind of was like, oh shit, this is so weird. Does this actually have any mental health benefits, or does it change anything? And then I was just like, oh, maybe other people are interested in this as well. So it's kind of just like a reflection of my personal interests in what I read, for example. And from there I just do it. To be honest, it's not this big thing where I'm like thinking a lot about it. This comes rather after I decided, oh, I want to do a video about carnivore diet. And then it was like, okay, what should I do? What is actually the best way for me to understand and learn what it is? And then it was like, okay, let's try it for 30 days, see how I feel before, how I feel afterwards. So it's kind of a creative process which every happens naturally every day. And I choose the medium of video to actually just take the viewer with me, with my personal experiences.
pretty cool. So you don't really force it. That makes it more authentic in a
Yeah.
way. And like, which has been your most successful film so far?
Based on zaps, based on
Oh,
views,
that,
what
you're
success?
right. Okay, okay. Let's on everything like zaps and views, I guess.
Okay, so my most successful video, which I have out, is the carnivore diet. This has, I think, about 1.5 million clicks right now, or something, 1.3. So this is so far the most successful. But I just posted 2 months ago my Muay Thai journey, where I started a Muay Thai fight. This is after 2 months already at like 400K ish. So I think like this is gonna become in a couple of months my most successful video. Based on Zab's, it's the Nostr documentary. I did the first Nostr documentary trying to explain for newbies what it is, like very non-technically. And this got the most zaps. I think I got like 800 zaps just in number. And yeah, I don't even know how
So,
much Bitcoin it was,
yeah,
but yeah.
interesting. So, like, actually, regarding the Muay Thai video, what made you choose Muay Thai? Like, why not some other martial art? Because I know like everyone hears Joe Rogan, they hear jujitsu, jujitsu, jujitsu. Everyone chooses jujitsu. Why Muay Thai?
Because I also heard, I think it was maybe not necessarily Joe Rogan, but it was like the most brutal, like combat sport out there. And why did I do it? I wanted to learn the most brutal combat sport in a sense. I wanted to be ready to be, first of all, have a relationship with pain because it never really wasn't a street fight or anything, but then also learn how to actually hurt a man if I need to do it with my bare knuckles. And from there, there's a huge hype right now on Muay Thai. I think Jiu-Jitsu is, as you said, it's already there, but Muay Thai is like growing right now, and more people are getting into this. So yeah. And I also had some friends who went to Thailand, so I was like, oh, that's a good time to also go to Thailand to just I try to do it.
Actually, that'd be a pretty deadly combination, Muay Thai and Jiu Jitsu. I think.
Yes, maybe I should start jiu-jitsu now next.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. That'd be pretty awesome. And you're from Germany, right? I don't know why, but for some reason I thought you were from Italy. I guess
Yeah,
deMarco. I don't know.
that's the last name. It's very Italian, but people also say I'm from Spain, from Greece, from Paris. I don't know what it is, but I guess I get, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I thought I thought you were from there. And do you know what the situation is like in Germany right now in the freedom sense, like freedom of speech, freedom of transaction, and whatnot?
Yeah,
Um, how's the situation? Because I'm guessing you move a lot around a lot. You don't have a fixed.
yeah. So
So
I actually left Germany because I felt that it goes into the wrong direction. It was 2020, yeah, 2020. Because
pandemic.
of obvious reasons. I was like, okay, I don't agree with what is happening here, and yeah, since then I gotta be honest, I'm very much disconnected from what's happening on the ground. I'm in Germany like twice or three times every year, so I don't get fully how it is, but just based on talking to friends who are there, it is not the direction I would want to go in the future or live in a country which goes in that direction. I know that there's a lot of Bitcoiners and the Bitcoin culture is flourishing because I think like it's the country with the most nodes running in the world or something. And so there is like this counter force to what's happening, but also with politics, with what's happening on the ground. I don't necessarily agree, but it's not that I could give you any examples. It's more like a big picture view which I have because I've been like seeing other countries which have gone through some of the bullshit already. Like Argentina, for example, is just a couple decades or years down the road, and they are already going into the let's say honoring freedom of speech, and trying to deregulate as much as possible. And Germany is still on the trajectory to trying to regulate as much as possible. To the industry is kind of fucked because of political decisions. So yeah, like just to sum it up, I think it's not a great trajectory towards what you asked with freedom and freedom of transactions and so on. But I also see that there are a lot of people who are trying to build this parallel economy and actually fight against it. So I'm in the middle. I would say I'm not totally bearish on Germany, but I'm also not overly bullish. So yeah.
There might be some like, yeah, I saw somewhere around the New Year that for strike users or something like that. Yeah, now you have to declare every single transaction done with Bitcoin, like to which address you're sending and stuff like that. So that's kind of a
Yeah, I think
daunting.
it's the European travel rule which is
Yeah,
being
yeah, that
implemented.
traveled
Yeah,
rule.
exactly. So this is kind of like the thing which like there is a lot happening in the wrong
Gary.
direction. Exactly. You need
Yeah,
to. So what the law basically is about, that you need to declare that this is your personal Bitcoin wallet when it leaves the exchange, for example, so that they can be able to track what you do with money.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And actually, I think we can learn something from this. So you left Germany in 2020. That means you had a red line before that. I think people a lot of times are like the frogs in the boiling water. You know, the water is boiling slowly, and they think they're going to jump. Things are getting worse, but it's getting worse slowly, so they never really jump out. Uh, how was your thought process through all that? Like, how many months or years in advance did you?
It was 2 days.
2 days. Oh wow,
I had 2 days to decide. So
two
I was
days.
orange pilled, as I said, or understanding Bitcoin like 2018 or whatever, this area, like 2018 ish. And then I kind of like understood what everybody says, like the Austrian economics, like a lot of people. Let's see, am I still here?
Yeah, you froze.
We
Yeah, there you go. You're
okay.
back.
Now I'm back.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So I read all of those books, and all of those people were talking about governmental overreach and so on. And it was all a theory to me. I was like, okay, that sounds interesting, but actually in Germany, well, it doesn't really impact me. And then it was actually Austria implemented the forced thing. Well, we're just swimming on Nostr, so it's okay. The forced vaccinations. Otherwise, you would have been like the YouTube overlords would have
Yeah.
emailed me guys. No, they implemented the forced vaccinations, and I was like, oh shit, now it's getting real. And then I had like 2 days where I was like, okay, I just want to leave. I don't want to be forced to do this. I don't want to be even like stuck in my country, because in Austria I knew that you weren't able to leave. So I just packed my bags in within 2 days, didn't know where to go, figured out this small island together with some other Bitcoiners where like nobody really cared about anything. So we just moved there, and there wasn't a lot of thought going in yet, because I didn't yet fully realize what was happening in Germany, in a sense. Like you said, like I was the frog in the boiling water. And then this was like, oh, okay, I need to do something, because I don't know how it's going to evolve in the future. And yeah, then I basically decided within 2 days that I'm gonna figure it out down the road. And since then, it's been a figuring out journey, and
Cool.
it's been a good
Wow.
one.
Four
Yeah.
years. Would you say this was only possible because of Bitcoin, or did you already have like a nice stable income online to sustain yourself, or how
I'm
did? Yeah.
so I had an online business, which was the podcasting thing,
Oh, okay.
which I was able to then do wherever I want. So actually, back in the time I was still studying, I had my master's, which I did online, but I then also quit it because I wanted to hunker down and like fully making the podcast agency work. So, but that wasn't the question. But if you ask me if it was because of Bitcoin, yes, in a sense that I didn't have those values before Bitcoin, I would have been never questioning governmental overreaches and so on. Like this was really the influence of Bitcoin on myself. And so yeah, it's a combination of, okay, ideologically, I probably Bitcoin changed me quite a lot, but then also it gave me the opportunities to actually build a Bitcoin business and do it wherever I was. And then I was sitting in this small island with a couple of Bitcoiners doing nothing other than work, and
Yeah.
it
Awesome.
was fun. Yeah,
Building. So,
exactly.
you never got vaxxed, and did you? Well, if you're comfortable sharing, did you? Were you investigating constantly what countries to run to if like your current area would impose forced vaccinations?
No, no, it was from there kind of like all opportunities opened themselves up, in a sense that some friends moved to South Africa, and I wanted to go
Oh,
to South
cool.
Africa, and then I just went there to live with them there. And from there, then it was like, oh, there's a Bitcoin conference here. Do you want to come work for this amount of time here? So it's kind of like, since then I've just been very fluid, in a sense that wherever new opportunities are, I just open myself up and go there. Friends invite me to live somewhere with them. Yes, that's so. It's been very much fluid.
So, how many countries have you visited, more or less?
Oh, dude, I've been last year, I think, in like 20 or 30 or something.
Wow. So,
So
have you ever had the thought in the back of your mind, like after decades go by, I'd like to settle down and maybe these are my top three options to consider?
yeah, I'm doing this right now. I'm
Oh,
kind of
really?
tired of traveling. It's kind of like I'm right now at a phase in my life where I would say, okay, I've traveled enough. The added value, the marginal added value of traveling another country isn't that high anymore. So now I'm kind of like actually thinking. That's also what I said in the beginning. If I'm going to be in a lot of conferences or not, it's the same with traveling. Right now, I'm kind of like, I'd rather want to invest in one place to build a community there, to build a family there, rather than just get going to the next country. So it is actually a very much a topic which is on my mind right now. So I don't have the answer yet to your question which one it will be, but Mexico City is very much up there. I'm now in Austin right now. That's also a place where I could imagine. But then Costa Rica. So I'm kind of like in this phase. So if I would do another documentary, for example, it probably would be titled like "How I Find the Place Where I Want to Settle," because this is the new. That's a question I have right now. So if yeah.
Interesting. So, like, what are the variables you're looking to tick? You said Mexico City, Austin, you're liking, and Costa Rica. How come? Like, what makes them stand out?
So I like surfing. That's one. It's not too
What's that?
important to be honest,
Mm.
but some connection to nature. I feel like Mexico City is a city which is a huge city, but it has a certain, like, there's a part called the Roma Norte where it's very green. It's very much integrated with nature, which I think might be a good compromise to have the pros of a big city, but also the possibility to not be overwhelmed too much by, like, let's say Hong Kong. Um, so this is kind of the thing. Then another very important factor is community. I think it's important to have a place where you are able to tap into either an existing community or build your own community. And other than that, of course, like Austin is so expensive, bro. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's, yeah, it's
Damn.
like,
All right. Well, my invitation still stands. If you ever want to try out the cowboy life and make a documentary about regenerative ranching here in Chihuahua, you're more than welcome. House for you to
yes,
stay, and we can easily plan this type of thing out. I think you'd love it. I think you'd love it
yes.
because
I'll be in Mexico end of the month probably. So again, so
yeah,
let's
perfect.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because my wife's from Latvia, and she thought people wearing cowboy. I mean, you're in Austin, but people wearing like cowboy hats and like their boots. That's something you only see in the movies. But she came here to Chihuahua, to northern Mexico, and she sees like people walking around in cowboy hats and everything. She's like, "Oh my god, it's so strange," like it's part of the culture. So that's pretty neat. I'm guessing in Austin, you also see a lot of cowboy dress people, or not really? Yeah,
Yes.
of
Yes. I
course
mean,
you do.
I've been in Nashville earlier this year. No, last year. And there are even more people, to be honest.
Oh,
Nashville,
really?
like, yeah.
Interesting. Freedom. The freedom mindset from Texas. I guess it's contagious. Um, are you currently living on a Bitcoin standard? How do you do that? Like, what recommendations would you give to people who want to eventually achieve living a Bitcoin standard?
So I basically live off credit cards. So every month I just pay my expenses with a credit card. And then at the end of the month, I just sell Bitcoin. And other than that, I'm 100% in Bitcoin. I don't own any fiat. I don't own any other assets. So yeah, I live off credit cards. I pay them off monthly. I don't want to accumulate more debt because I think it's very important to not get used to living on money which you didn't earn yet or you didn't sell your Bitcoin for yet. Because I think that's like it can become a downward spiral. So I tend to really every month just go on zero again on the credit cards. And to be honest, this is the best way. I've been living on Bitcoin, um, like Bitcoin backed credit, like debit cards and so on. But for me, the easiest solution was actually to just use a fiat credit card and then sell either peer to peer or via an exchange, and then just yeah, what because I also know what my expenses are. Let's say like it's 1,000 at the end of the month, then I know okay, I need to sell 1,000 of my Bitcoin, and therefore it's also like an automatic DCA in and the DCA out. So I'm earning most of my income in Bitcoin, so it's like every month I'm DCAing in, but also because a lot of my friends who I'm orange pinning is like, oh, when do you pay out? Blah 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 blah. Like when do you sell? It's you're also selling to a certain degree or DCAing out of Bitcoin, which when you want to have a life and actually need to pay for things, is a good thing. So yeah, this worked great so far for me. And yeah.
Yeah, there's two things there. Number one, have you tried your taxes, for example? Have you looked into those businesses that offer to structure your life in a more tax efficient way? Like you have a tax residency in one country, your residency is supposedly in another, and then your banking is in another country? Or how did you dis- discover
Yeah.
how to best do that?
Yeah, yes, I definitely looked into this. There's like Katie the Russian, I think, who can help with that as well. So I have a lot of YouTube friends from Germany, and they basically taught me what the best way is,
Oh, okay.
and that's how I've been living since then. Yeah.
And also, I heard Jack Mallers, he wants to implement a new feature on Strike where you can get a loan on your Bitcoin as collateral, and therefore you never have to sell your Bitcoin. You just roll the loan over, and you just pay the interest. But you're already earning in Bitcoin, so that's a way of basically never having to. I'm looking into doing that here in Mexico because we already have that option with Capital X. It's the name of a exchange here. So it looks like I'm an experiment that right this very month. And I'm going to see how it goes. Like there's always a risk to get either rug pulled or liquidated, right? If Bitcoin drops 40%, for example, but you can always pay back some of the debt or put in more Bitcoin as collateral. But I see it as a fantastic way of stacking aggressively because according to my calculations, I only need to earn like what is it, like $70 a month to pay back the interest, and then I already have Bitcoin to be paying back the previous loans. Like you just recycle the Bitcoin over and over. That means everything else I earn can go directly into Bitcoin. So it's like a way to turbo stack. But
That's cool.
I'll see how it works. See how it
Yeah.
works.
I'm to be honest, I'm somebody, I just keep it very simple. It's like I try to build my business Bitcoin positive, and as long as this is the case, I think it's going in the right way. Yes, you can try to optimize and even stack more Bitcoin and so on, but I personally am like, I'm not touching a lot of those things because I'd rather focus all my energy in providing more value for more people out there to earn more sats, rather than yeah, putting out loans. Which doesn't mean that it's wrong or anything. It's just like I'm yeah I think I'm a little bit different there than you.
No, I think the way you're doing it is perhaps the safest and best way for most people, to be
Yeah,
honest. Yeah.
yeah,
I guess you sleep better at night, perhaps.
yeah.
And so, out of all the countries you've traveled to, which have been the best countries for people who want to live on a Bitcoin standard?
So Costa Rica is up there. Then El Salvador is okay. It's like people don't like. It's not as good as you think.
I don't know.
Uh, yeah, no,
Can you,
like not everybody accepts Bitcoin there.
do you want to talk about that? So,
Yeah,
like,
like I've been there now 3 years in a row, and I feel like there's a positive evolve. Like it's evolving definitely towards positive, like a good or like a better way, but it's still like compared to Uvita, for example, it's nothing. Like in Uvita, this it's to be fair, it's a small city, but everybody knows about Bitcoin. Everybody self custodies. Everybody understands it, and I think because they wanted to do it on such a big level in El Salvador, it's so hard to actually get everybody on board and understand what it is. So this then had the repercussion that a lot of people don't really know what it is, don't accept it in the right way, and this made the whole adoption a little bit, yeah, not on the right fundamentals. So
mm,
you see the repercussions now. They don't understand the difference between Bitcoin and Lightning, and so on. So having said all of this, it's still extremely good for the 3 or 4 years which it's been implemented. So it's like, I mean, if you think about it, even having 10 or 15% of businesses accepting Bitcoin is really, really good for where we are in the cycle and where we are in the life cycle of Bitcoin. But just on a relative basis, for example, Costa Rica or Uvita especially is like easier to live on Bitcoin. Um, so this for sure. Then what here in Austin, actually, it's also there, like my shop, they have like literally I'm living some like 10 minutes from downtown, and there's like a Bitcoin ATM in the next stop here. So yeah, whereas South Africa is shit with Bitcoin. There's the circular economy, Bitcoin Ekasi. They're like trying to push it a lot, but it's kind of like Also, again, in a very secluded area.
Mm.
Um,
Southeast Asia, like how is it? Like
Thailand, nothing,
nothing.
nothing. Japan, I've been, also not really. Hong Kong, no. Then where else have I been? I wasn't in Bali, but I heard Bali had like the Bitcoin house in Bali makes good work. So I don't know how much better it got now. Europe and Germany, it's actually, you know what the problem is with all of this is, like, you can find a barber, you can find some like a butcher, but it's like it's not feasible in this way that they are somewhere in the city, but it's like you got to travel 1 hour,
Oh,
40
okay.
minutes and so on. So it's like that's why I opted to live on a Bitcoin standard, but also facing the reality that I need to integrate with a fiat system. That's with credit cards, because um, I don't like, for me personally, I don't care if my shop accepts Bitcoin, because I'm living on a Bitcoin standard. For me, it doesn't really make a difference if he accepts Bitcoin or not. It's like, yeah, I would wish that he accepts Bitcoin for his sake, but it doesn't really change my modus operandi by I have just Bitcoin, and it doesn't really, it's like if I'm okay with selling every month, this is a good enough Bitcoin standard for me. So I don't even need the whole world to be in a Bitcoin standard, because I myself can make the decision for me, and I don't really care if the shop accepts it or not.
True, true. Actually, it seems like despite the West being in decline, it still seems to be the best place to like live on a Bitcoin standard. Still, I guess like Germany, there's a lot of shops and things that accept Bitcoin. Apparently, I checked the maps, like BTC
Yeah,
map, and it's just everywhere. And in the more underdeveloped countries, it's kind of really hard to find a place that. For example, Mexico, in my city, I think I might be the only business that accepts Bitcoin.
have
That's
you ever, did anybody ever pay with Bitcoin?
No, they ask. I mean, I've been paid with my online consultations, but in my physical location, they just ask. No one
Yeah,
has ever tried even paying with it. That's just kind
yeah,
of sad, to be honest.
yeah,
Although two cases they've told me, hey, I had Bitcoin, but they sold it for shit coins and things like that. So Mexico's still behind in this adoption phase, but we'll see where that goes.
yeah,
And so you launched a new podcast focused around health, mental health, physical health, things of the like. So is this your latest project, and was the culmination of everything you've been doing?
yeah. It's just the evolution again of my personality, in a sense. Like I made documentaries as well. My internet is kind of looping. I hope you still can hear me
Yeah, don't
okay.
worry.
Yeah, now we're back.
Yeah,
Okay, good. Yeah, it is my personal evolution to a certain degree. So I made documentaries about my life, becoming healthier, trying to say, as I said, figuring all of those things out. But I also figured that there's so much nuance in a lot of topics that it's hard to put them into those documentaries. And also, I discovered that I really, really enjoy with talking to people, and that's also how I learn, by having face-to-face communication with people. So I figured that now the next project which I want to do is kind of like just even outsourcing more of my journey of becoming a healthier being, a healthier human, to the people, and actually be able, if they want to, if they're interested to go on this journey, like having you on the podcast talking about those questions which I actually have, because I'm not trained in any way to any scientific degree or being a medical doctor. But I think a lot of people out there have the same questions as I have. So I just want to ask those questions because I'm curious myself to understand if sunning your balls is actually good or bad for you. So yeah.
awesome. And which have been your best, personally, your best health results? What have been your best changes to your lifestyle that have improved your health?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely the one thing which I would say makes the most difference is working out. It's just putting myself out there. It has a huge impact on my mental health, on the connection to my body, as well as just feeling energized throughout the week. And I always feel when I don't do it, my everything declines. It's like my discipline with eating declines, my discipline with sleeping, even my social media usage kind of increases to a certain degree as well. And for me, if I would give advice to anybody, it's just like lift heavy things as often as possible. That's kind of the thing that changed my life. There's this meme where it's like, oh, the bell curve is like on the left, like lift heavy rock, man is happy. And on the right side, it's the same, but in the middle, it's like, oh, you need this protocol, Huberman, da 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 da. Da.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, for me, it's just going to the gym consistently, and everything else kind of falls into place afterwards.
Yeah, it's like Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. Like nice and simple. So, where would you put sleeping on the floor? Because I think that was another documentary.
Sleeping on the floor that's a good question. Where would I put it? It's kind of started as an experiment again because I was like, this sounds so weird that there might be a truth to it. And yeah, it actually helped me go through a hard time where I was training for the Muay Thai. Um,
Interesting.
for the fight, and it helped me with all of the soreness and all of the pain that I just had. And since then, it's like I would say it's kind of like a tool which I use. For example, if I'm sore or when I have even like if I have like if I'm in an Airbnb where it's super shitty, I just sleep on the floor. And it's also something where I'm not too much like, okay, I need to do this every day. But as I said, I rather utilize it nowadays as a tool when like every now and then when I feel like I need to sleep on the floor. But uh, yeah,
It's really cool. You're doing all these like random things. Have you considered doing a documentary about sun tanning your balls?
I did one about sun. And we talked about sun, like, uh, yeah, in the intro, I'm sunning my balls. Actually, it's called. Oh, I forgot the name because I changed the name, but it's why Brian Johnson is wrong about the sun. I think this is how the current title is. And yeah, I did it. I just had a podcast recording recently where we talked about it too. But I don't do it. Maybe I should do it more often. Maybe that's my New Year's resolution.
This is bro science, basically. Awesome. So you clearly have plenty of experience in the social media space, marketing and whatnot. So for those who are like perhaps starting out, trying to create content on Nostr or Bitcoin related things, what would be like some basic tips for people who want to provide some value?
So the first step is do it, because I think this is the one thing everybody fails at. It's like, oh, I can't do this because, and then insert reason. And it's like, oh no, nobody's gonna listen to me because insert reason. And it's like, I hear this so often, and this is like I think everything else again, like keep it simple, just start, and from there you will automatically see what is fun for you to post, what do people actually appreciate, what do they like, what do they zap, and from there you can build this own social media persona, or like even like the best way is just to stay as authentic as you are and just adapt your personality which you're in person onto there. So the first step is definitely start. uh, then it depends a little bit what your goals are with this. I would say, especially on Nostr, people appreciate you the more authentic you are and the more you interactive you are. So it shouldn't be just like, oh, I want to build this internet persona because I want to get rich or something. Everybody sees through this. Like nobody's going to be ever successful with that, because especially on Nostr, because it's real people there, and it's like there's no algorithm there. You need to provide value, and the only way to provide value is to actually connect with people, with their problems, with their visions, or just with them as their personality. And so it is a little bit like being at a party, I would say. Like if you're new at a party, nobody knows you, and what would you normally do? You would just go around the room, try to figure out who the people are by asking questions, by telling them about you, what you're interested at, by then just figuring out where are the people you connect with, right? Like you will have people who talk about Formula One, but you have no idea about this. You're going to go to the next one who talk about sunning the balls. Maybe that's more the people you're interested in. And I think the same thing is happening in Nostr. It's like you have all of those different people having a big party, and you just need to interact with them to find out what your voice can also be. Because if you just stand somewhere at the end of the room and start talking about what you're interested in, yes, maybe there's going to be a lot of people interested in it, but actually you have no feedback yet, what do they like or not. But if you go first out, build a kind of this sunball community, maybe then you can provide some value by saying, hey, I did this and that and so on, and they will resonate and repost it and so on, and then from there you can break out. So it's kind of like, I say, it's also not that complicated. It's just be like you would be in real life, and then adopt it to Nostr. And of course, you can have different mediums. For people, it might be the podcasting. For other people, it might be documentaries. And for other people, it's just shit posting and memes. But this as well, you kind of need to figure out yourself, because you need to find those different Nostr echo chambers in which you can resonate and you can flourish. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of success with the PlebChat series, where I'm speaking with like people on Nostr already. That seems to be what Nostr likes right now the most. Also, yeah, because I talk about carnivore stuff on my YouTube channel. Either there's not many Spanish users on Nostr yet, or it's just something that people aren't that interested in it as much. Because well, a lot of Bitcoiners are also on the carnivore diet as well.
Do
And
you know La Crypta?
sorry,
Do you know La Crypta?
la cripta, sí,
Okay, yeah. Because
yeah.
it those like Augustin, you could have him on and maybe connect with him. He's a Spanish speaking and has uh like is running La Crypta, who's a big Spanish community. So maybe you can.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm constantly looking for people who are interested on coming on the podcast. Yeah, thanks for the recommendation. I'll look them up. And do you plan on having children one day? How you put a number on that? 3, 4, 5,
Yeah, like ideally 3 to 4, I would say.
3 to 4.
Yeah,
Awesome. I already
definitely. Yeah.
I already have 3, and
Whoa.
thinking of having up to 5, perhaps. But yeah,
How does it go so far?
it's amazing. Like I don't know, I love it. I love it. Maybe it's not for everyone. I do think those who don't want to have children perhaps shouldn't have it. There's no need to pressure anyone for it.
Yeah.
But it really makes you mature as a man. I think it's one of those like missing blocks a man needs in his life to like
Yeah.
finish the
I
maturation.
mean, I mean, isn't this ultimately why we do everything in life, to kind of like build a healthy family and being able to provide for them? And yeah, I think everything else is kind of just additionally, like
Yeah,
even building a business or earning money. Why do you do this? Well, it is because you want to build a healthy family and be able to provide a better future for your kids than you might have had. That's like also why I think sometimes with stacking Bitcoin and only focusing on increasing the stack, you might be actually missing out on some things in life. And one of the things which I also a lot of Bitcoiners say, or even like people who just got orange pilled, that Bitcoin helped them to understand that one part of this is actually family and building, yeah, the future generations.
that's true. That is so true. And Bitcoin has helped me do this because in Mexico, for example, it's a terrible place in if you depend on earning money as an employee. Like salaries are crap, you can't really afford much. I mean, but if you have a business in Mexico, oof, you can live very very well. Things are a lot cheaper here, and if you earn money online, you can earn in dollars and euros, etc. So Bitcoin helped me to not be in that fiat grind, and it gives me more freedom to be with my family. So Bitcoin's amazing. But in the end, yes, I agree. Family first, Bitcoin comes second,
Yes,
and that makes me the happiest man in the world. And I have to ask, did you go to the Michael Saylor party?
I
And
wasn't. No, I
no,
wasn't. No.
just I didn't look at the videos, but they said it was pretty good. I
Yeah, it
saw,
looked awesome.
yeah,
It looked
interesting,
awesome.
awesome. So, any right now, do you have any future plans that you would like to make public? Like, what's the next project of Max DeMarco?
Let me think. There's a lot actually
Oh,
happening.
really?
Yeah, a lot. But I mean, the one project which I'm still focusing on is like helping more Bitcoin podcasters and also podcasters to build their business to make it actually profitable for them and up the quality. I think this is something which I'm still going to be focusing on. And besides my personal brand, which I don't can't really tell you what it is because it's, as I said, just fluid.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure it's like the podcast is going to be the new big project which I'm gonna focus on. I have a lot of exciting guests on, which yeah, I'm gonna be dropping very soon. But yeah, no, it's just like living life, trying to become a better human being by every day. So yeah, this is kind of my project. Becoming a better version of myself than I am today. This is my big project.
Yeah, I love how like you're just carving a way through life. Like there's no pre-built model of living because I think that's a lot of a big problem many people are stuck in. They think, okay, I'm born, I grow up, I go to school, I study a career, and I do that career for the rest of my life, and then I die. And I think, at least personally with Bitcoin, I feel I have so many more options. Like I'm a doctor, I'm a podcaster, and there's a lot of things. I personally like one of my dreams. I've realized through these videos I make on YouTube that I like educating. So one of the goals that I have is that once I manage to stack enough Bitcoin, I really want to go deep into Austrian economics and like take Saifedean's. He just released a new offering where it's like $8,800. You get to be privately tutored by Saifedean, things like that. I would like to learn a lot about Austrian economics and then try to teach Mexico about it. You know what I mean?
That's
Um,
cool.
that's one of my dreams, and I think Bitcoin makes that possible. Otherwise, I'd be stuck as a doctor like forever,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
basically.
that's cool. And like, it's probably going to be, if we have a conversation 4 years down the road, it's maybe going to be something completely different because Bitcoin showed you the way of what it actually is. But as I say, it's like, it's a wild thing. And I think it's also good to surrender to a certain degree to that, as you say, like carving out the direction of life, which like, maybe it's a good thing that we have no idea where we're going to be in 4 years. What, like, life would be a little bit yeah, boring if we would know, okay, I'm gonna do in 4 years the same thing. That's at least my opinion of life. It should be as fluid as Bitcoin is, as fluid as life in general is. Go the ups and go the downs and figure
Yeah,
out your way.
definitely. And I just remembered a question I wanted to ask. Um,
Yes.
do you think Bitcoiners should have at least two passports? Do you have more than one passport?
I don't. Um, that's a good question. I mean, it's just having the opportunity. If you have the opportunity, I would say probably yes, just to increase the your flexibility. Because who knows what's going to happen with your citizenship, where you're from. Uh,
Russia.
yeah, exactly. That's a perfect example, right? So I would say yes, but also I haven't been optimizing in that way yet. Yeah, I'm probably not the right person to ask this, but my gut feeling says the more opportunities you have, go for it.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to find a ways to get at least a second residency in case things go to hell. Because the thing about Latin America is that it can change dramatically from one presidency to the next. Like you saw Argentina with Javier Milei, or going back more in time, Venezuela as a rich capitalist country then turns into a communist hellhole. So like things in Latin America change quickly. So having that flexibility, I think, is super super helpful to have, especially if
Yeah,
you're
I
a
totally
Bitcoiner.
agree. Exactly. Just
Definitely.
as much the more self sovereign you are, the better. And I think the more passports you have, the it makes you more sovereign because you're not like relying on one particular jurisdiction.
Do you plan on staying in the United States for a few months or?
No, just until the 6th. So 4 more days, and then I'm off to Canada. I'm gonna stay there for a month, and then back to Mexico.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Max, do you have any place you like to send people in case they want to check out your content or hire your services as a, what exactly is, it's a content creation business exactly?
Yeah, it's basically like if you have a podcast or a personal brand and need help creating your content, we can facilitate everything from editing the full podcast, making Instagram reels, scheduling it, or even uh, like conceptualizing different videos or advertisements for you. So it's like a full suite marketing slash agency, advertising agency for Bitcoiners. You can find everything on 21cstudios.com. You find my email there as well. You can basically just reach out. It's max at 21cstudios.com. As well as other word, like where can you find me? Anywhere you want to find me with Max DeMarco. I'm still on Twitter. I know.
So am I.
There's a reason for it, which I won't yet share. But it's a bigger project, and yeah, I think that's where you can find me. And hopefully, like, yeah, if you ever around and know where I am, Bitcoiners out there, just reach out. I'm very openly to meet people. So yeah.
Fantastic. I'll add all that in the show notes. Oh, and are your services English, Spanish for this content creation, marketing?
English, mostly
English.
English. We also have German. Mi español es muy básico.
Okay.
So yeah, I think I would have a lot of. Well, I have two Spanish editors, so actually we could probably
Hmm?
facilitate it. To be honest, yeah,
Great. Actually, that's pretty good to know. Good to know.
yeah,
And actually, another question just came up. Um,
yeah.
the what's your take on the Nostr only people and those who are still into the legacy social media?
I think we need both. Both have their viable reasoning and viable existence. To like in this room, we need the hardcore Nostr people, but we also need the people who are actually on Twitter to still get like the funneling in of the people. And I think it's again a function of where you are in your internet life cycle. It's similar to what we said in the beginning, like where you're in the Bitcoin cycle. Okay, do you need to go to conferences to meet people, or not? And it's, I think, the same with your internet personality or your internet account. Some people are further down the road as already and can afford, or even just go on Nasser because yeah, they don't care about the rest. But then there are other people where it's actually extremely valuable that they're still there. I think the most important thing is that you're just very aware of what you're trying to achieve there, and that you're not like an algorithmic slave who's just being pushed around by it. And I think once you are on Nostr, you understand what the good and bad things are about also the legacy platforms, and this then gives you the possibility to, yeah, navigate through those systems in a way that it doesn't harm you. It doesn't really compress your mental capacity and fries the dopamine receptors too much. So I think this is really what it comes down to. If you don't have control over it and uh, don't know what the bad ways of social media are, first of all, check out my documentary, Social Media is Broken, Can We Fix It? We talk about there. But then it might be good to just delete it fully. But I think there is a certain way that you can have a very healthy relationship to even the legacy platforms, which everybody needs to figure out for themselves. And I appreciate the people who say that there is like there are just negatives on the other platform, but I'm of the opinion that there are also positives, which if utilized correctly, it is basically also just a tool for content creators or people who want to connect with other people.
You got people in the chat. Derek Ross saying
Let's
hashtag
go.
Nostr only is the path forward.
Yes, yes, exactly. Those people are the people who like putting the drum in front of something. And as I said, we need them. And I love Derek. He's one of the guys who's like really helping a lot of people to get on board and to understand Nostr. And yeah, so I'm trying to funnel as much people to Derek by posting stuff about Nostr on Twitter, because otherwise he would have too much free time, and I don't want it. I want him to be busy Nostr pilling a lot of people.
That's right. Yeah, personally, like I use my legacy social media. I only use it to post about my videos. I don't really engage in it.
Yeah,
I do meet interesting people through like messages directly through there, mainly in my Spanish speaking community. Uh, there's not many. I would say not much Spanish speaking people on Nostr yet. So legacy social media kind of does still help me a lot, like to get to
Yeah.
know people. But
I think it comes down to this thing. I had a talk on Nostrasia in Japan as well as in El Salvador, which was titled "Stop Consuming, Start Creating." And I think like you can still be on legacy media if you don't primarily consume on there, but you use it to actually create stuff. Like even doing videos about Nostr or creating your own brand or creating music or so on. I don't think that it's necessarily bad to also use the legacy medias. And I understand Derek will probably be like, "Oh, but you're feeding the beast." Da, da, da. I understand the point, but like, as long as you're just creating on there, it is not that it takes from you because you're not scrolling and the beast is kind of taking your energy. You ideally you just create something and then you just post it on Twitter and YouTube as well because ultimately the reality is Nostr is still in its infancy and we need to wait until it's bigger, and I'm extremely bullish that this is going to be happening. But as a creator also, you kind of can make use of the other platforms as well.
yeah, it's like a gradually, then suddenly thing. So I guess eventually, I do believe Nostr will take over. It's a winners take all, in
I
my
think so.
opinion. Yeah,
I think
yeah.
so too. Yeah.
First, yeah, because even with X, like people see that the supposed savior of free speech, Elon Musk, is apparently not so freedom minded. So I think that's just more publicity for Nostr. Anyways, Max, thank you very much for coming on, and hope to chat and meet you in person one day. So,
Let's make it happen. Thank you so much, Fernando.
right,
This was super cool.
awesome. Well, take care.
Take care.